Hey beautiful souls, welcome to my channel. So, before you pull out those weeds from your yard, you need to hear this first. These two plants showed up uninvited in my backyard, and it turns out that they have medicinal and spiritual meanings and have been used for thousands of years. Okay, so I've been outside in my yard and I'm going to show you guys here in a minute. I didn't let my boyfriend cut down these, I guess you could say weeds or whatever, but I don't know, I see things differently a lot of the time, and I looked up these plants that were growing in my backyard, and anyways, I wanted to show you guys, and then I was going to explain what I found. And if you're curious for things that grow in your backyard, you can kind of see, to have a little bit of curiosity and see what grows. And I'm gonna pull them out and put them into my herb book so that I can have it for future information. But let me go ahead and switch this so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so when these were first coming out, I thought they were dandelion, and I was like, no, I need to pull out my little plant app, and then I found out that these are actually called, let me see if you can see them really well, London rockets, and I'll show you guys here later the meaning of them. But I was going to pull it out and show you a little bit of the process I do to save these little plants and the information so I can use them later on. So this is a good one. My partner, he's gonna be mowing the yard soon, and I kind of wanted to pull these up so I'd have a record of it. Here we go. And they're really easy to pull out of the ground. Look at that. It comes up with the root. So there's that one. And then I also notice these pretty ones right here. Look at that. You can see it really well. This is a nettle. It's actually called a henbit nettle. Let me see if I can find a better one. So let me grab this. Here's a lot of them right here. And so these have actual medicinal properties, but I don't know that I'm gonna make them into a tincture. And it's only because he had put down some, look at these right here. He had put down some, I don't know what you call it, like a weed and feed kind of thing, like to kind of get rid of the weeds. So, but even though I can't use them, I can at least take a picture of them or take a picture of them, but put them in my herb book. So, all right, let's get these out. And then, sorry, I got scratched earlier. Let me see here. I think these were a little easy to pull out too. Yeah, there we go. Oh, look, there's my cat. Her name's Reese. Hi, Reese. All right, so next I'll, there she goes. I'll show you guys here in a little bit how I press them down and put them up so that I can keep them for later. So if I ever notice them when I'm walking, I'll know what I'm seeing out there. It's such a really interesting way to look at plants and herbs, like wildcrafting when you're going out and about. And it's starting to rain out here. We're supposed to be getting a thunderstorm here in a little bit. So anyways, all right, I'll get to show you here in a little bit how I put these up and yeah, anyways, okay, so we'll go to the next part here in a little bit and I'll show you what I do. All right, see you in a little bit. All right, guys, so I still have some sunlight coming in through my window, and so I just wanted to show you this next part real quick. But here was that. I said the name wrong earlier. It's henbit dead nettle. It's still a nettle. And then this is that London rocket. So pretty much what I do whenever I am wildcrafting or find something interesting outside, I'll get a piece of parchment paper like this. And what I'll do is just get my plants in a way that I want them to look like, because I'm going to be pressing them down. So let me see if I can show you real quick. All right, so I just kind of rearrange it a little bit. You can see here. And oops, my camera's falling. Sorry. If you notice, some of the leaves are kind of wilting a little bit already, but that's going to happen. There's nothing wrong with that. And when you press it, you just kind of want to make sure that it presses in a way that, let me see here, that you can kind of observe the leaves. I'll just do this one for now. I'll do the London rocket later, but and so you just kind of press it down like that. You're going to cover it. See how it's looking. That's fine. So from here, I don't know, I'm trying to get my camera to stay still. Let me see here. Okay. I have this, see if I can show you real quick. Move it a little bit this way. I have this little folder I made out of foam board. You could do it out of anything, foam board, cardboard, and you just stick it in there. You don't have to check on it. And then oops, you just kind of press it like that. And then you'll want to add books or something heavy, and that's how it'll dry out. And so I just wanted to show you that process, and then we'll continue on with my regular camera. All right, so the two plants that I found in my backyard, scientific Latin names, henbit dead nettle, which is also called Lamium amplexicale, and London rocket, which is Cicimbrium aereo. And what makes these two herbs really special is that henbit dead nettle is considered an anti-inflammatory and has usually been used traditionally to reduce fever. It's also edible, It's high in iron, fiber, and vitamins, and it has been used medicinally throughout Europe and Asia, and then of course it is used now here in the Americas and the United States. London rocket has also been used medicinally, mostly for respiratory support, as a diuretic, and also for skin conditions such as pimples, which is kind of interesting. It was traditionally used by Europeans and was an Arabic medicine. It's also part of the mustard family, London rocket. One thing about henbit is also it's in the mint family. So these are really special little weeds or herbs or just plants, however you want to call it. And they're really cool. Some things to consider after placing them, like if you find them or want to use them, you have to make sure that they haven't had any kind of agricultural, like I would never recommend for you, like if you are wildcrafting, I would never recommend for you to go to like the side of a road, because that's usually sprayed with chemicals. And also if your yard, like I was mentioning earlier, you don't want to, if it's planted with, or if not planted, sorry, if it was sprayed with chemicals in your yard, you probably can't use it as a medicinal herb or plant. But if you do find them and you know that they have not been sprayed with any type of chemical, they're safe to eat, always wash them. And these are the type of herbs that you can actually make tinctures from. I won't be making a tincture from the one that I showed you earlier. I just put it in my herbarium. And like I said earlier, it's just so that I can keep track, and when I see it later on, I can have my explanation for myself on what it is, what it means, and everything like that. So, okay. Something that's also really interesting about plants that I always find fascinating, and it never gets old for me, is that not only do plants or little backyard plants that are weeds that grow, not only do they have sometimes like a medicinal property, they also have like a spiritual layer. And that's something I really enjoy to talk about, just seeing the normal mundane, the herbs, just the ground, everything around us always has a spiritual meaning for me, and I hope that's how you see things as well. And so one thing about these plants, you'll find that if you do wildcraft, or if you're just new or thinking about it, you'll find that sometimes these plants will show up in your garden or your yard without invitation. And like a good name for them would be kind of like volunteer medicines. And the spiritual meaning behind that is that they appear in your vicinity, in your yard, or if you go on hiking trails and the land in person when you need them. Okay, so like not only does henbit have medicinal uses, it also, because now it shows up as a weed, or a kind of plant that some people may consider like overgrown plant that you don't want in your yard. But it represents persistence, resilience, showing up in hard conditions, because I live in the Southwest, like I live in the desert. These things have to be resilient over here. And not just that, there's also an explanation that it has, henbit itself has medicinal or folk use for anxiety. And it's like right now in the world, in the United States, a lot of people are experiencing anxiety. And I hadn't seen that plant in like my yard before. And, or, you know, and I walk around this one path in my town, and I had never seen it. I felt like it was new to me. And all of a sudden it's everywhere. It was not only just in my yard, it was in my mom's yard as well. And so I always take that as a note, like, why is this showing up? And when I saw that it was for anxiety, I was like, interesting. It's like the earth always knows. Nature always knows. And so as far as London rocket, the little spiny with the yellow flower, that one, I would say it was like extremely abundant, even more than the henbit that I saw. And it's kind of like this rapid restoration of growth. So even though my boyfriend's going to be mowing the lawn, I bet those things are going to grow right back. And so it kind of shows like the resilience of this plant, and of any kind of wild plant that shows up like that. So I would ask you, has either of these plants showed up in your own yard? And you can also ask yourself, like, am I feeling anxious a lot lately? If you see it, is that why it's showing up? Or are you trying to restore resilience within yourself? So those are just a few things to consider when thinking about these types of plants and when they show up in your yard. And just to have that curiosity to think about, what is this plant doing? What is it representing? What is it calling to show? What is it calling for me and how I show up in my life? So think about that. And so I would just say, before you go out and mow your yard or pull up these weeds, I would just say, ask yourself why it's there. And like I said, nature, the earth, it's always there to like give us a hug, to care and to take care of us in times of need. And I always feel that nature doesn't make mistakes. So that's something to consider. And have you noticed any kind of these like volunteer plants, just uninvited plants that show up in your yard or in your space? Have you noticed them lately? And if you want, drop them in the comments. I'll help you identify them, and we can kind of talk and discuss what you found. Or if you've seen these, what you feel and how you feel about them. And I just ask that if you like this content, subscribe, like, share, comment. I really appreciate you being here. And always, beautiful souls, don't forget that every layer that you uncover changes how you see everything. All right, much love. See you later. Bye.